become lifelong learners and contribute positively to society. It's a regular board meeting on September 25th of 2023 at 5:30 p.m. in the Centerville Admin Office. I'd like to call this meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Moore.
Here.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas is absent. Shondell.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Liskus.
Here. Next item on the is to approve the agenda, please.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. Number 3 is welcome visitors. We'd like to welcome all of our visitors, especially our students. We like having our students in here, so thank you for coming. We are going to open up the floor to public forum, and per board policy, I'm going to read the board policy. We will now open the floor for public comment. I want to remind all speakers that while this is an open forum for any issue, the board does expect all speakers to maintain a civil tone and refrain from use of profanity. I would also remind all speakers that any comments that may be made during public comments will also at the risk of the person making the comment in the district may not be responsible for defamatory, potentially defamatory statements which may be made about a particular person. It's the board's practice not to engage or respond to speakers during public comment session, regardless of the topic and or concern. If the board wishes to further discuss an issue or address an issue, or a concern raised in the public comments, will do so by establishing an agenda item in future board meetings. Is there anybody who would like to make a statement to the board in the public forum session? Seeing none, we'll move on. There is no old business. We'll go to new business, which is approved out-of-state FFA trip.
Guys would like to come on up to this area here. You're welcome to scoot a couple chairs up if you'd rather sit. That's fine too.
My name is William Fairwood, and I'm the FA reporter. My name is Adriana Howard, and I'm the FA secretary.
I'm Ariana Walbrenner. I'm the new ag advisor.
We are going to a national convention Wednesday, November 1st through Saturday, November 4th. It's in Indianapolis, Indiana. And there's 12 students going. And then on your paper, there are some activities listed that we will be doing while we're there. Transportation is lined up with our destination out of Carroll, Iowa. We will be traveling with 4 other FFA chapters on this bus.
So on the back, we just have kind of our tentative itinerary. We do have males and females going on this trip, and something that's lined up with the other chapters that we're going with. We have 2 male advisors that will also be there, so they kind of work as our male chaperones. Yeah, so the plan is to leave Wednesday morning, and then Friday they'll travel through the night. Since it is with the Star Destinations, it's kind of saves us a little bit on having to stay Friday night and then travel back Saturday morning and kind of get the kids back a little sooner too, since they will be gone for 3 days. On the bottom we have our costs. The students all, to be able to go, and fill out an application, get it signed by their parents, bring it back to me. So we had about 17 kids interested in going. I can narrow it down by how long you've been in FFA, have you been able to go before, what your grades are, what your teachers say about you. So I don't really know a lot of the kids too much.
In National Convention, I'm looking forward to going on tours and learning. I'm looking forward to go to demo sessions and listen to the speakers and just learn more stuff.
I'm looking forward to doing hangout and things more. You know what I think?
That's what we got for you.
So do you get to pick any of these 2 tours? Is that what you're going to do?
So those are some of the lists that the Star Destinations they gave to us, so then they kind of find out based on our schedule and how many chapters they get going. That's what they give us at the beginning of,
Okay.
here's optional tours, which ones are you interested in and where can we fit you in and do they have times available, so. these are our options. So they picked two and we've kind of given them what we thought we would like to do and then they try to work.
Which ones are you gonna try and do?
So the one that I've been before, the one that the kids seem to like the most is the one first, Indianapolis Speedway. I don't know if any of you've been there, but then the kids get to like kiss the bricks, they all think that's cool, and you get to go around and they do like a history on the speedway, so that's pretty cool. And then the other one, I've been to the Ozark Fisheries, that's cool. I said like the honey farm too was something that, we would be interested in, just to see agriculture and another aspect that the kids probably don't really think about. So we're hoping, we haven't heard back yet what 2 tours we are for sure would be able to go to, but, that's one I selected just because I want the kids to see
Sure.
kind of a different aspect of agriculture.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the FFA trip to Indianapolis. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Have a great time. Will you have me come back and report?
Have fun.
Yeah, I plan to, I hope to be able to have the kids come like every other month maybe to a board meeting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we'd love to hear a report from your trip.
It's good you got another trip with your brother though, right?
No, her cousins.
Cousin.
Or cut
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, okay.
And you wanted us to share too, like planned activities for the year, right? I think that-
We're game for you guys coming anytime you want to come.
Oh,
We're
okay.
excited to hear about.
We love to hear about what students are doing.
Perfect,
Yeah.
sounds good. But yeah, we got lots of new things planned for the Centerville chapter this year. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Any standing invitation, any work session, we'd love to have you, any that you want to come to.
Perfect.
Well, thank you for sure.
sounds good. Well, I'll make sure we got kids here.
Okay.
As much as they love presenting.
You guys did great.
Perfect, well, thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you.
I think the people who run the resort used to plan a convention.
Oh, I don't know.
I read that someplace, like the pitch, maybe.
Okay, didn't know that. Do we have any student reps?
I think you're right.
I thought we had one, but I don't see him here yet.
Okay, well, we'll make time they come in. All right, item C, approve request for allowable growth and supplemental aid for negative special education balance. Let Lisa talk about this one a little bit.
Well, you should have 2 handouts in your packet. The first one is a comparison page. Kind of shows you, where we're at for the year, and where we ended up. We have a larger deficit than we had last year. No, you're good. Last year's deficit was 70,000, this year's is 291,000. The increase in the deficit is largely because of 3 items, salaries and benefits, which we had some, extra aides that we had to hire last year, and one-on-one aides, and then, our transportation, there was a little bit of an increase there. I can't go too much into detail, but some transporting that we did to another school district. And our tuition out total, which is anything that we have to pay to educate students wherever they might end up. And we had a out-of-state placement.
For a 90 placement, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of that tuition out total is. And then the carryover is, so we had a carryover of 105,000 last year that was in that equation. And obviously there was no carryover this year, so that's the major increase in that. And if you look at the comparisons from 16, 17 till now, I mean, we've been there before, so I'm not concerned about that. And as long as we get the allowable growth request, then we should be able to cover that.
Which this isn't a super high request.
No, and so then that also brings me to the other, there's a whole document on the Iowa Department of Education that shows all the school districts and their sped deficits and then how much they request. But I just put in our AEA, so if you just want to do a little comparison of some of those.
We're not out of line, so.
That's, yeah. And there wasn't anyone on the request for all school districts that chose not to request. So everyone requests for the,
Both quarters, yeah.
yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, just your cost for special ed might increase any given year based on the need of the individual students you're serving. And that's why the state has this mechanism to kind of build back and pay back the local school when that happens.
Anybody have any questions?
So is that so that Irvington had a carryover about a month?
And that's happened a couple times. Well, I shouldn't say it. Yeah, I think they're working hard not to have to.
So that was a positive number in that column with the carryover, everybody else is negative, that's interesting.
I would say they probably have a goal of not carrying over.
Because anything that you, if you have a positive balance, that hurts your instant balance, so.
There's a certain number where we hit one year when I was there, where we actually had to give money back to the firm of management.
Right,
because
we
We
don't
were
wanna do
over
that.
the 10%.
I mean, there's a few other districts that have a large number over. And the biggest number we've had over is 100,000, so.
Yeah. Now, that may not be over their 10%, though. That's a big issue.
Yeah. Any questions on the request for allowable growth?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request for allowable growth supplemental aid for negative special education balance. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is approved. All right. First, approve the first reading of Board Policy Series 600. This made for some great reading over the weekend.
I apologize in advance for.
For one of the shortest agendas we've ever had, it was one of the biggest board packets we've ever had.
Yes. Now, again, this is, just like the last series we did, your table of contents page is not up to date until we have the policies come in.
So I've got the packet from, I'm just gonna whip through it real quick, and if anybody's got any comments, this way we, in the past, we've kind of bounced back and forth on different things, and it was a little hard to follow. We'll just see if we can do this real quick. So, first one is 600.1 has been eliminated,
600 is,
600.1.
600 is before that.
600, sorry. Goals of the objective, that's the new policy. Anything? If I don't hear anything, I'm just gonna read them off and just pipe in when you want me to stop. All right, 600.1 is eliminated. 600.2 is eliminated. 601.1 school calendar, there's quite a few changes.
Particularly the change that was required by legislation, that's not required, that legislation led to in the spring, is the ability, the state has given districts the ability to use 5 days or 30 hours of instruction delivered primarily over the internet in a school calendar year. And the intention behind that, as we are made aware, is virtual snow days. So that's what that is for.
601.2, school days a major rewrite. I think it's just cleaner to do as a rewrite with all the edits.
Yeah.
602.1, curriculum development, is got really not a lot of changes to it. 602.2, curriculum adoption, curriculum implementation. I don't think there's any changes on that one. 602.3, again, no changes, right? 602.4, a little bit of a
Wait,
rewrite on that
just a
one.
minute. I've got a question about 603.4.
603.4,
Yeah, we're not there.
we're at 602.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, I'm sorry. It's hard to follow the number system, that's like 602.4, experimental innovative programs. Something I have questions on. 602.4R looks like is incorporated above. Incorporated above, 602.4, there's a lot of, that came out of that, okay. 603.1, basic instruction program. Looks like there's quite a bit added to this one.
So what we had in our policy that's different in the exemplar policy, is we had each preschool through kindergarten, like, I think it was 1 through 4 or something like that, or 1 through 6, the elementary program 1 through 6, which is not how we have our structure. And then middle school program and high school program, the state actually, in the recommended policies, has basic educational program. And so it calls out the state's requirements for what you have to instruct at that level. They made some big changes, particularly around the health standards. There was actually a standard where you were supposed to teach about, and it might have been first grade where it started, but it was almost absurd as you needed to teach about AIDS in kindergarten. And they eliminated that for us, because nobody was teaching that, and they recognized that that wasn't age appropriate, and they eliminated that from the standards that you were required to do, and allowed us to have more age appropriate rules at each level. So that led to a whole rewrite of the educational program in the exemplar policies.
Okay, thank you. 603.2 elementary, and going down the next. That one's eliminated. Okay, summer school instruction, 603.8. 8 becomes .2.
Yeah, to get in line with
That's just a
this,
read on
yeah.
that.
And the changes on this are just from changes in the Eli law, the early literacy initiative law.
603.3 is incorporated in another one now. 603.10 becomes .3, special education. I got a question on this one.
Yep.
This may be a little bit of a wording nuance.
Okay.
A lot of what I read in here, the word shall is now going to be the word will.
Yes.
What is the difference of that two?
Not sure, but even on the state exemplars, when you see the red lines, you'll see shall,
Okay, because it seems like there's a difference without distinction.
Shall,
Probably.
no, I think shall used to mean must, and will means,
Maybe, I mean, I don't have a good answer to that question.
That's stupid.
Yeah, that's why I was curious.
I
Okay,
think every now and then
in
somebody's gotta change
negotiations, you always
something.
wanted shall in there,
Yeah.
and the board always wanted will in there.
okay. Well, I don't know what the,
Good reason, no.
okay. So when I read the special education, it says, going down to, it's in the 4th line, towards the end, the sentence starts, students requiring special education will attend general education classes. I'm okay with that. Participate in non-academic and extracurricular activities. Will, so if you take that out, it says will participate in non-academic and extracurricular activities.
Right.
Does that mean our special education students have to participate in extracurricular?
And no, but it then also goes on to say to the maximum extent appropriate to the needs of each individual student. So what it's saying is that a district cannot preclude a student from participating in those as a result of their status as a special education student.
Yeah, because that sentence is like 4 lines long before you get to the maximum extent.
And there's a word for what that last chunk is, and I'm married to somebody who can tell you what that is, but it's not me, but that's the part that really is the kicker there.
It seems like a really long and confusing way to write that one.
Yeah.
Fluff.
Yes, a lot of fluff.
Well, it says will, and then 4 lines later, 30 minutes later, when you're reading the policy, it says, maybe you don't have to.
A long way of saying, hey, you can't say that kids with IEPs can't participate in activities just because they have an IEP.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Well, I agree with that.
That's- Yeah, that's good. But a long way to say it.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll move on. I just thought it was a weird way to look at it. All right, so 603.4 is done. Which one do you bring up, Bob? 60, what?
603.4, or the new point 4.
Oh, the new .4, okay.
Yeah, not 603.13.
All right, we're there.
I know. A group I think we should be adding is Arab Americans. I mean, if there's any group we discriminate against, it's probably Arab Americans more than these other groups. My other concern is they refer, now, do you get these from the Department of Ed?
From the Iowa Association of School Board. Association of School Boards.
Hispanic Americans is not usually the term those people want to be called. That's the name that white people gave those people. They prefer to be called Latino Americans. Choco Bailey educated me on that one.
There may be a federal code reason that they would use that language, but I can ask, and I'll put a call out to Siobhan Snyder at Association of School Boards and ask.
And the same thing, I don't know if Indians want to be called American Indian. I associate more Native Americans with that group of people.
Okay. Let me ask and see if I can get us an answer on that.
Okay.
I think it's moved forward.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's so many subgroups you could put in there.
And if a group is working for some rights, and you hit a roadblock, then you change your name, and then you can start over again.
Start over, yeah, to reset.
Black history is full of those name changes.
Okay, all right, anything else on that one?
No,
I'll find out an answer for us.
All right, 6035 is eliminated, 6035R is eliminated. 60314 becomes 60335 Department of Education. Okay, 6035E1, form. I'm sorry, 603.6, special, physical ed.
yeah, I want to talk about that one a little bit too. That's about PE, right?
Yeah.
Don't we have adaptive PE?
Do you,
Why shouldn't there be a board policy about that?
well, is there, yeah, I kind of think, and I'm not trying to push back negatively, but like, we don't have a board policy about different biology classes necessarily. If it meets the standard for the state, because we have a variety of schedules that we use for a variety of science classes or social studies classes, and that would make sense for that.
But do we have students who can opt out of PE? Or do
What would we call, I wouldn't know if I'd call that opting out.
they go to adaptive PE?
Adaptive.
Adaptive PE is technically written into an IEP, so that'd be on an individual basis. We have different, it's like at the high school, we offer different PE classes, but they're all considered general PE. We have some walking PE, we have activity PE, we have weightlifting, but adaptive PE is written into an IEP. It's on an individual basis.
So there is no course called that?
No,
Like low
I thought
impact?
those people walking by
Low
my house
impact?
were adaptive.
That's what it's-
that's one of our regular PEs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This does allow for exemptions. Our policy that is currently in place does allow for exemptions. I don't know if we have students taking these exemptions though. If they're enrolled in academic courses not otherwise available, if they've obtained a physical education waiver for and that should read semester, so I'm gonna make that change when I go back to the document, not semester or trimester. Because the student is actively involved in an athletic program, student is participating in the legislative page program at the state capitol for a regular session of the General Assembly, or the student is enrolled in the junior reserve officer training corps. So we do have exemptions that are allowed there. I don't know that we have any students taking, do we have students taking those exemptions?
Yeah, per our board policy, like if a student has a full schedule, it's in our board policy that they don't have to be in PE. We don't currently have anyone doing the athletic exemption.
Because generally, you think if you're in an activity like that, you probably want to get the extra exercise. Get up there and do that.
I know that's pretty common in a lot of schools, and like we have kids transferring and we ask about that. I think it's just always been our opinion that PE is part of the day and really they should be, probably no harm to them to do a little extra PE.
You good, Bob?
Does that,
You good on that one, Bob?
Nope.
I'll get that typo first in there too, though, about the semester thing.
Okay. 60315R is eliminated, .16 now becomes .7 for education, which is expanded upon.
Now, is that what that's still called, career ed? Because that policy goes back to 2002.
What's that?
Is it still called career ed?
That's what they still have it labeled as.
Okay.
Unless I missed that, I'll double check that. But I was pretty tight on it while I was looking through this, so double check title.
6037 is eliminated. 60317 is now .8.
And kind of a weird, just a word of the title there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of funky things.
It makes sense though. This got R1 added to it. 603.18 becomes .9 academic freedom. And 603.9 R1 controversial issues. 603.9 driver's ed is limited. We still have to offer driver's ed. I was wondering
Yeah,
about this.
why are we limited to everything about, because we signed a contract with a company to provide that, so shouldn't we have a policy about that?
They don't have one in the exemplar. My understanding is that that's not a required policy to have.
That's a required instruction to have, but not a required.
Is it required instruct? I don't know for a fact that it's required construction to offer. I can find that out.
Yeah, Tom, when we did the contract for driver's ed, Tom said that the states, it still mandates schools provided, but most schools contract it out, so they don't have the insurance liability themselves.
That makes sense. I'll have to ask some questions about that because I'm not very familiar with driver's ed.
I didn't know if we needed to have a policy on that, since we have to offer.
They don't have one in their exemplar.
All right, global education, 603.6 becomes 10. 603.11 is basically, that one's eliminated, .19 to 11 on citizenship. 604.1 on private instruction. Let's say it's like a sentence rewrite on that one. 604.7 becomes .2, individualized instruction. 604.3, count and gifted. Just condensed policy. 604.4, at-risk students. 604.6, no .5, religious-based exclusions from school programs. I like the fact that we're getting the legal references on all of these policies.
That
Yeah.
comes in handy.
And I've been going through that, it's like the same 3 cases or 4 cases
Isn't it?
affect almost all the policies in this whole series. 604.8 is now .6 on post-secondary education. It's a major rewrite of everything. So does that one cover students that are going to Indian Hills? Or is that on,
Concurrent enrollment.
or is that a concurrent enrollment versus?
This one covers concurrent.
The instruction of post-secondary education is concurrent? Okay. Because I didn't know about that, because you get the dual enrollment, that's the next policy.
And technically, we even have some, I think, we have the ability to accept some classes at a couple other institutions if we wanted to, don't we? Is Drake one of them? Am I remembering that right? Well, I think typically for most of our students, it's Indian Hills, but everybody in the state has the ability to do a couple courses that are largely over the internet with a couple other colleges. So this would cover all of those, but we typically kind of go the Indian Hills direction for our kids because there's more local support for them.
604.3, which is now .8 on foreign students.
Yeah, why, I think people call those international students, now there's nothing foreign about them. But this school board association still calls them.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. That does seem like more
Yeah,
outdated,
that's 60s talk.
yeah, it does seem more
I
outdated.
always heard this foreign exchange students. So my question on this policy is, because I don't know if we have had an international foreign student now or in the past couple of years. We
The
haven't.
few last year, I think, was.
We had 3 last year, we have 1 this year.
We do have one. So I know, because when my kids were in school, and some of them had classmates who were international students, became friends with them,
Yeah.
and they were seniors. But those kids didn't get to spend their senior year, they didn't get a walk across graduation. Is that something we could do, even if it's an honorary degree, to let that student who had, and it was like, well, they didn't fill out our four-year curriculum.
Right.
But if they were enough in their home country to come here, could they not walk across, I mean, what does it really hurt for us to give them a diploma? Is there a legal reason?
My suggestion would be that we, as we do the graduation policies, that we address that in there.
Okay.
So that then all things pertaining to commencement are in the commencement policy.
Okay.
So that you know, yes, this student can, no, that student can't, and it's kind of clear for you. But last year I did a little research on this in the spring, had some questions about who could walk and who couldn't walk at graduation, and that one is fairly split, one district, some districts allow, some don't. So that's something that we can certainly make sure we talk about
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, I think we should do it, 'cause I mean, to me, it's a huge lifetime event, it's a lifetime memory. And, okay, as long as we address it,
That
that's
family entrusted us with the care of their child.
Okay, now, in that policy, it says the school board approves foreign students. We've never done that ever, and I'm not sure.
Fair enough.
The first remaining paragraph
Yeah,
there.
you're correct. And it wasn't what was lined out, we never did approve.
We've never done it, Mike.
And I won't typically make these suggestions very loud, but would you be comfortable with saying approved by the superintendent? Not that I'm looking for any power in this, but
Yes, I would.
just to help expedite it for families.
Yep. Well, actually, the rewrite doesn't say,
And that may have given an option there, I can't remember, I think I might have just selected for,
oh, there it does say, yeah,
I have to look at that.
yeah, I'd be okay with that. All right, moving on to 604.2 now 9, it's homeschool assistance. Now, that's just the policy, we have a much bigger program somewhere else it's being checked out. 604.10, online classes, no longer virtual, but now online classes. 604.11, appropriate use of online learning platforms. Homebound instruction is being eliminated because of the other policy. 605.1, instructional materials and selection.
This is one of the big ones that changed with the legislation around library books. You're about to get into a handful of those here. Actually, this is the precursor to the big ones that
Yeah.
changed.
605.1 R1, selection of, the new title is selection of instructional materials. This one is been expanded greatly from one page to about 5. Any questions or comments on this one?
There's a lot of times in this where it says, as allowed by applicable laws, in case there would be changes to law that tighten things in one area or another, the lead board policy is still not in conflict with state law.
There's a lot to that new policy.
Yeah.
There's a lot for the administrative team and the staff to go through. Okay, 605.2, instructional library materials inspection and display, which is rewritten to condense. Six oh 4.3, strike the bullet 1. 605.3 R1, objections to instructional and library materials regulation. This is another one that's been greatly expanded upon.
It does change the reconsideration committee to the reconsideration committee as it's written in the new law. Our reconsideration committee used to include I think it was two students. Students are no longer allowed to be on reconsideration committees for library books and materials. It increases the amount of non-educators on the committee, which is again required in that law, to make sure that that is reviewed by a different group.
605.3 E1. 605.3 E2. E3. E4. We're going way down to 604.3. Bullets 4 goes through the form. We're going way down in this one. All right, 605.5 now, point 4, which is technology and instructional materials. 605.6, library. 605.7 now, point 6, on the appropriate use of the internet.
Okay, there is, I think this is the one, I wanna make sure, yeah, I wanna call your attention to, you'll see that, Roman numeral 5, employee violations, consequences, and notifications. One thing that we received from the Association of School Boards Review is that it's inappropriate for us to include in this section employee violations, that should be in the employee section. So there is a corresponding policy that'll look to bring to the board to put that more clearly in the employee. And actually, it's a little bit more robust regarding internet expectations. So I just want to make sure that I call that out there.
Moving through the R1. And then the R2 is eliminated. 605.7E1 is changed to 605.6E1. Internet access permission letter to parents. There's the internet appropriate violation notice on E2. 605 now is point 7. 605.7 R1. That's the major rewrite of them. District webpage 605.8 is eliminated, and so is R1. All right, 606.2 is now point 1 on class size and groupings. School observances and ceremonies, 606.4 now point 2. 606.5 now point 3, animals in the classroom.
Great title, right? Wonderful.
I didn't know we had a policy about animals in the classroom.
Oh, you're in every classroom.
You should have a policy.
Ask any teacher.
You want a policy.
I went to Howard lunch the other day, no, I'm just kidding, they were great, kids were great, I did go to Howard lunch the other day, so.
It's good to have levity or policy.
606.4. Other than being loud, I thought they were all very well behaved, actually.
That's par for that age.
Yeah. 606.6 now point 5, student field trips and excursions. 606.10 now point 6, classroom space. Shared student, 606.1. Okay, 606.3, are we eliminating homework?
Where are you?
606.3, homework.
Oh, in name, in policy, I think we are eliminating this, defining what homework is in our policy. That doesn't mean that homework is eliminated. However, research does tell us homework has little impact on student achievement, but there will undoubtedly still be some homework because there are some things that you need to practice outside of school.
Like math was one I think
You really need
specifically
to practice some of those skills, yeah.
Yeah, some spelling.
And one thing that I'm very pleased with what our folks do with math is it's not just beat your head into a wall on math problems, it's the amount of math problems that we need to know that you're getting the skill and you're getting the practice with it. But yeah, in name, the policy won't do that.
I always thought that math homework was unfair to assign all the even numbers when the back of the book had the answers to all the odd numbers.
Yeah,
Right.
yep.
All right. 606.7. 606.8 on age. 606.9, all these lists are no longer needed policies.
Yeah, kind of little things that didn't need a policy to begin with,
607.1, they must have at some point.
probably.
607.2, student health services. Again, it's just,
This one, I spent some time with our nurses to double check that we liked these policies. So I have a monthly meeting with the 3 nurses, to go over health challenges in the district and, had them go over these with us. There were some changes from legislation here. I'm trying to think if this one talks about Narcan, but that's something that,
I saw that in there
that's
somewhere, that
coming
we have
up,
to,
I think.
we have to have Narcan, that's standard, we gotta have that on site. Okay, 607.2.1, special health services is, 607.3 is not needed, classmates, I'm glad we don't have to have a policy on that. 608, I didn't know we were supposed to have adult education if we could, but that's, and 609 is eliminated. 610,
That one really kind of, I probably could have taken that one, renamed it that class size and
Yep.
groupings and done that, I didn't do it that way, they're kind of similar topics, so.
okay, that's all the 600. So, I think, because the action items was the 600 series. Okay. We have gone through them. Thank you. Would we like to approve the first reading? Okay. We have a motion second for the first reading of board policy 600. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Yeah, come on up, student rep. I saw you sneak in, so. We won't make you sit through the rest of this really exciting stuff. Have a seat.
I know you were probably having fun hearing more policy numbers.
Hello, I'm Jacob Cairns, I'll be the student rep. So far at school, everything's been settling down, everyone's getting into the routine of school. Our student teams for volleyball and football have been exciting, and we've had a lot of participants lately, so that's a good thing. And we have a lot of students participating in Pancake Day, which is coming up. We have football players, volleyball players, and FFA all participating in the parade itself, along with student council and NHS volunteers helping out with the activities themselves. And then we also have our local band, Velisco, playing there at Pancake Day, I believe.
Local band.
Yes.
I think it's four of our students in
Yes,
this.
4 of our high school students, along with, I believe, 2 from outside of school. Homecoming is upcoming, and we have a lot of activities planned, starting next Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. We have things like volleyball for class competitions, along with dress-up days, and pop tab competitions, and other fun activities that the students will love to participate in. And then we also have practices for our school play coming up, and they're working hard to make it the best way possible.
Do we know the place to be? Do you know?
I'm not sure on that.
I don't know either.
It's, what did it
Oliver?
was gonna be Guys and Dolls.
Oliver.
Oliver, thank you, yeah. And by the way, if you watch games on the pitch, you'll now see a new commercial that AJ put together for us, about the musical, so,
Good.
I'm pretty excited about that. Jacob, can you tell us a little bit about you, since it's your first time with us, like what year are you, what activities do you do, things like that?
I am a senior this year at high school, in our high school, and I participate in trap shooting, student council. Those are currently the only 2 activities that I have.
Activities. And you've got something for your resume to say that you were the student rep at Centerville Community School District's school board.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good deal.
Hey, I hadn't even thought about that as a bonus.
That's a good resume piece.
It is.
Okay.
All right. Anybody got any questions for Jacob?
Do we still have a no cell phone policy at high school?
Yes, we do.
How's that going?
It's going well. Some people obviously don't really listening to the policy, and the teachers handle it appropriately.
That was a wonderfully diplomatic.
That was awesome. You have a promising career.
You're hired.
So most students, so they fall in line with and understand it?
Yes, the majority of the students do follow in line with the policies.
Okay, that's good.
My granddaughter is in Seymour, and her comment was a lot less drama. Would you say that was a fair assessment at Centerville, or?
I would say that's pretty fair assessment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody got anything else? All right, thanks for the report, appreciate it.
Thank you,
We're gonna take it easy on you first time, so.
Hard questions next time. Thank you so much. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Jacob, thanks for coming. All right, let's go through the rest of these real quick. 104 anti-bullying. This, I guess I should say, we're on item E, approve the first reading of the board policies as listed in the agenda. 104. 104R1.
104, I had to see what my question was. It says the parent or guardian of the student may enroll the student in another attendance center within the district and offers classes at the student's grade level.
Which we have none.
Do we have to have that in there?
I think that you're supposed to put it in there because in some districts you can, and also because it's one of the things that was allowed by law when they kind of beefed up anti-bullying laws a few years back. We don't have any other, well, I mean, technically, we could maybe alternative school or something to that effect in that case, but generally, we don't have another attendance center. And technically, by law, the alternative school isn't a separate attendance center.
Well, the question is, we don't have that, so do we need that language in?
It might be the kind of thing that they want you to have it in case you'd ever, so like if we'd ever, get 2 large factories come in that could come in and have to have a second elementary or something. But I can ask if we're able to limit it. Can you, help me find one paragraph that's got it here?
Yeah, about halfway down.
Yep, okay.
That was my only question on that.
Let me check into that, and see if we're able to eliminate that line.
It just seems like it should something come of that, then we have something in our policy that we can't.
Yeah, I see this.
And you know that I like succinct policies, because they're a lot easier to get people to follow, because it's a lot easier to draw them to the right spots. So
Right.
if we don't have to have that, that'd be good.
I think it's 104R1. There's some tabulation issues on here.
Yeah, and I think once we get rid of the cross out ones and all that, that'll help.
604.2. I'm sorry, I'm so used to saying 402. 402.5 on required professional development for employees. 4081, again, on professional development. Okay, so 503.7, that gets back up into everything else, is that what I?
Yep, it's duplicative of 104. Yeah, so-
Married to an English.
I don't even know if I'm using that correctly there, I hope Mary's not listening at home.
So with that, all the 503.7 is all.
And they spotted that a couple spots where they recommended, because what I'm trying to do is we do the ones for the law, also catch what the Association of School Boards told us, and they said if you've got it in 2 separate spots and you forget to edit it in one spot, or you haven't gotten to edit it in one spot, then you are caught in between policies, so trying to make sure that we have it in one place and we succinctly follow that.
My only question on this, one comment was that we need to cite the Iowa code for that.
5037?
Yes.
Yeah, I just saw that, yeah, sorry.
And then I did not have a chance to actually read that as much as I did this afternoon. What do we figure out on the nickname portion of that? I know a lot of schools have been doing a lot of different things.
Yeah, it's really up in the air right now. I know I've kind of reached out to some of our legislators who said, our intention wasn't to hit Billy from Bill or Bill from William. So generally, we've worked under the belief that when the law was passed, it was for gender affirming nicknames. And that's that was what the DE, when they said anything, that's what they said, was gender affirming nicknames.
The guy who wrote the bill said the same thing.
Yeah, so we kind of figure it's best not to, you know, if there's not a need to waste a family's time and it meets the law that was written, then we prefer not to waste that family's time. Now it could be that we get from on high that we have to later, but at this point, I would really advise that we remain in the realm of, you know, following the letter of the law, and the gender affirming name would be one we need to use the form for.
And 5037E1.
Just a typo in the bottom of the, please complete the attached form. We're gonna have to be-
Oops, thank you.
Okay.
Good catch.
Okay, I don't see that one, but that's not interesting. Okay, I missed that one. 503, E2. Okay, 505.5 testing program.
In the middle, this typo, of the new verbiage, this includes the person who created the survey or the person who sponsors.
Sponsors.
It should just be sponsors.
Sponsor.
You have a promising future as an English teacher.
Yeah.
You know, before I was appointed to the board, my wife can testify, when we got the handbooks, they may or may not have critiqued those when the students got those home.
Well, thank you for that catch, we'll get that.
Well, school newspaper did for 4 years in high school.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah.
I read a little too fast to catch that kind of stuff. 507.3, now .2, administrative meds. And then the form that goes with that, E1 form. And the E2 form. And the E3 form. Got to have a lot of forms to do.
Now, E2 is basically the form that we've used as a district for a number of years with a slight tweak to be up to date with the law, but it hadn't been listed in code. So that should be all italics, and I apologize for that. But yeah, that's what they've been using.
It's like 804.5 is completely changed to do the prescription, stock prescription meds. That's the one where you have to have a naloxone or whatever.
Yeah, so actually they allow for 3 medications, and in talking with the nurses, they recommended that we, because the Narcan is the one that they're really pushing with this. But you're now allowed to stock epinephrine, EpiPens, and bronchodilators, so that inhalers. Due to cost at this point, I think we need to take some time kind of bringing these in, because they talked to me about how quickly those expired and how it's hard to keep up for multiple buildings, and the people that they have who need EpiPens and bronchodilators are actually very consistent with their own medications at this point.
That is my big question.
I mean, if you had a kid that it would be dangerous for, and we would definitely, I would probably bring back to the table and say, I understand it costs a lot, but we should do this for this kid. But in this case, they're very confident that the people they've got with these kind of allergies are well covered. They spent a lot of time looking at this policy too, to make sure that it met their needs.
The first couple years ago, for the first time, I was around somebody who needed an EpiPen, took 2 EpiPens, still couldn't breathe, and we rushed him to the ER. It's a pretty frightening thing to watch.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say that I won't eventually come back here, but I think to try to let our nurses bring these things in and bring them along as we go. We may come back next fall and ask for your support to add 1 or 2 of those, 1 or both of those.
So if I read, we're talking about 804.5, right? If I read this correctly, you cannot administer this last year's school nurse or trained and authorized?
So the training, they've got med certification that they can take. So like we do our bloodborne pathogens training, through the AEA, and so it's like that, and then the nurse has to follow up with, here's things to look for, here's things to watch for. So we've talked in the nursing group about, trying to pick crisis folks in each building that could be trained on this, and then some people who might be at, because our big place is games.
If you were at a ball game, though, the kids open, Mark showed us with the
Yeah.
nurse. You could open it up, and I mean, I don't know anything about that, but I could follow the steps. Mark and the nurses showed us that if you were just at a ball game and saw that, you could be like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
And the good thing about Narcan is, and what we are under the understanding of, and I talked with public health, and they shared is, if you give Narcan to a person who doesn't need Narcan, it's not gonna hurt them. But if you have it for a person who does need it, it's gonna change your day completely.
So we're going to train
Yeah, and
some people to do this, but not everyone.
not everybody. And some of these folks who we're training for other reasons too. You know, they're the person who might be the trained person for giving medicine at lunch, at the nurse's lunchtime, or they might be trained for going on field trips to be the person that can hold the inhalers for kids that need them and EpiPens for kids that need them. So that crisis team will be the ones that we take for this. There's some discussion of trying to train at least one coach in each activity maybe. We haven't gotten real far with that policy yet, but just so we know somebody's there if there's a major event in the stands that we can potentially save a life.
I mean, in my head, I'm just thinking about the old high school now. If you have one person in that building, they could be a long ways from
Long way.
where they need to be.
Well, they could be in the new building.
And the new building is not a whole lot.
It'll be further away, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, whatever, you know,
When you go for the rest of the road to the science wing.
yeah, you're down there a ways.
Stairs are a long way for guys like me though. So,
So I just wondered how many people we thought we might train.
I think we're looking for probably 3 or 4 per building is our goal. Just to have kind of a smattering of people, and generally, our goal is to aim at the people who don't have like a full, like 24 kids in your classroom at all given times. So maybe like a counselor or a social worker or people like that, so that they're a little more flexible in their
What
scheduling.
it could be, sure, okay.
That's probably one of our topics of conversation next month. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
How many cans do we have, and will they travel with teams?
So I think it's two canisters per building. They actually live in like a box near the AED, the defibrillator in those buildings. At this point, we don't have anything to travel with teams or anything, so we would be, you know, at the mercy of the hosting school at that point. I think generally, we're probably in the realm where the bulk of our concerns with this will likely be community members at activities, but obviously we get in high school, sometimes those can be concerns too. I feel like this has really gained a lot of traction in the last couple of years, and we'll probably see even more. Last year, they had policies to look at for this, and then again, it was on for the fall, coming back, changes to do, so I think we'll probably see continued work in this area from the state.
This sounds like a line item in the budget.
Might well become that, yeah. And luckily, right now, the Narcan, actually, and this is a great time to say this really publicly, Public Health actually filled out a grant to get us our Narcan cabinets and our first Narcan doses for our cabinets. So like, they took care of all of that. They came and showed us where to put them in. Aaron and his crew went and drilled them into the wall, did all the things to make sure they were in the right place, and then the Public Health folks kind of gave some of the nurses and I just a quick crash course in how that works and when we might need to use that. Strangely enough, I was watching football this weekend and actually saw a commercial for Narcan. I'd never seen something like that before, but I think it's gaining a lot of the public's eye right now. And after a really great presentation last fall on opioids that took place at the Y, didn't even know that was a problem until I was seeing that.
I have a question, not really about the policy, but since we're talking about it. So if we have 3 or 4 people that are, let's say, trained in each building, do we have a rapid response thing set in place where we would know, because you probably would need, you might want a couple of people there for somebody's really.
That's a
It'd
good.
be hard to, you want a team, you want a team approach to it.
Right.
I think, instead of.
That's a good
It's on me.
question. I don't really know I don't know exactly what a rapid response would be like for that, but that's a really good question.
Or sometimes a code word that those 3 people all need, you know.
Let's. I like that.
Well, the thing with, if Narcan has to be administered,
Thank you.
your average person, if it's, there's gonna be some violence once they come out. So, it's
So be ready.
not something that's pretty to watch, so.
You can actually see, like, you can actually see their eyes change, right, when you get it, to see the people's.
Yeah.
So maybe.
There's a little more training besides just administering.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I said there is maybe if you're gonna administer automatically call law enforcement at the same time.
911 immediately.
Yeah. Administer and stand back.
Thank you. It's the exact note I just wrote and stand back.
Anything else on 804.5? All right, we've gone through all the policies listed in item E. Motion second to approve first reading.
So moved. Second.
A motion second to approve first reading of the board policies under item E. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. First reading is approved. F, this is awesome, Mike. A long-range fleet
Well, don't
plan.
give me all the credit, this is beautiful looking. I just gave the information, Mark and Lisa
But you have
constructed
the
it.
information.
But you had, this is awesome. Thinking ahead, I love it.
So, yeah, I guess my purpose is just to, we have a good fleet right now, and I just wanna get a plan in place so we're all on the same page about keeping it that way. I don't wanna come to you guys in 3 or 4 years and say, we got 4 or 5 pieces of junk that we need to replace right now. And I can, about $600,000 or $700,000 to do it, you know? I think we put this together and worked it out, and Lisa was agreed that we can afford this plan, so, if there's any questions about that, I can try to answer them.
So what was the previous try where we were trying to replace like 3 every 5 years or 5 every 3 years? What was it?
So, I think, that, you know, when I first started working here about 7 years ago, we got 5 buses. And then that lease came up, and you guys approved us to buy 5 more. Well, that's in the middle of, you know, supply chain issues, and it takes 18 months to get a bus, then it couldn't get an engine, and it's just on and on and on. So, we purchased 3 buses, we've yet to purchase the other 2, just for those reasons. So I guess I just wanted to get back on board and make sure that we keep our fleet up. And,
So your long-term plan is to get 2 in 2026.
eventually I think we wanna get it to where we're getting 1 or 2 buses.
And get 1 a year after that.
Yeah,
So this should be very helpful to tell your bus sales rep, I want 1 a year, just mark me down automatically.
yeah, and, you know, like we talked, it'd be nice where that thing arrives July 1 or whatever. You know, we got new money to pay for it, we got a new bus ready for school that coming August. That's what I would like it to look like. Whether the supply is gonna get any better, I mean, right now they're saying a year at best if you order a new bus right now. The last one was about 15 months. It's just a crapshoot really when you get it.
I like the theory of what you're doing.
Yeah, I just wanna stay, like I said, I just wanna stay on top of it to where we're not, you know, when I first started, when I was the mechanic over there first, we had some pretty worn out stuff. I don't want it to get back to that point.
If you look at fiscal year end 28, weirdly enough, this is SBO language, so, that's July 1st, 2027 is when we would be start making a purchase there. From that point forth, if we buy a bus a year, we will have 10 route buses, which is what we need in full life cycle at that point. So we would have 10 current buses. It's gonna take us a few more years to get caught up for what we can financially afford. But that'll put us in the case where then every year you're just buying one bus. And you're always on, you've always got good spares, they're in good shape, and everything is smooth for buses. Okay. That does include though, and that's the second part of this, approval of long-range plan and bus purchase. So Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my bus salesman stopped in the other day, and we were, talking, you guys, we basically could buy, you approved and we buy 2 more buses. Like in the meantime, like I just stated, we got kind of caught up in the craziness of how the world was the last few years. And he tells me that Wayne has a bus coming off of a lease. It's 2 years old, has 35,000 miles. He says, get in contact with him. So I get on the phone, give him a call. He says they're getting some new buses coming this month, end of this month, 1st of October. Their payoff on the lease would be $55,000. So if we would bid that amount on the bus, we could buy a 2-year-old bus for basically a third of the price of a new one. And get it immediate, within the next few weeks.
How much is a new bus?
I just got a quote last week, a new bus identical to one of this is $143,000. It went up about 30 grand in the last year and a half.
Yeah, because I thought they were closer to 100, 110.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just a standard route bus. I mean, that's nothing fancy, that's no air conditioning, that's just a plain Jane.
So we could get a 2-year-old bus with 35,000 miles on it for $55,000.
Yep.
And then how does that work into your schedule?
So we sat down and we discussed that. Is that gonna delay us getting anything new? And what we came up with is that all it would delay is about 6 months. A little more than 6 months. Like we could order, what you said fiscal year 25, right, Lisa?
26.
Well, so it'd be, we could.
July 1st, 2025.
But basically this coming summer, we could order 2 new buses if we want this. And then that, with those 2 buses, then that would put us on to the plan to, then after those are purchased, buy one a year after that.
So this used bus kind of catches us up.
Yeah, it kind of bridges the gap here the last couple of years where I didn't buy anything because not only was what I wanted wasn't available, it was so far out. And, like that bus we did order, it just kept getting longer and longer and longer. Yeah, it kind of catches us up. I went and looked out today, I drove it. I mean, besides brakes and tires, it's like a new bus. I mean, it runs good, drives good. Body's in great shape, no nicks, scratches. I mean,
That one is listed in our fleet list here. It's the one that's called off-lease bus.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
So I just thought maybe we could use that. I feel like that's a pretty good deal. I mean, you're getting a almost, a couple-year-old bus for almost a third of the price of the new one you bought it right now.
That makes sense, so.
I typically, I don't like buying anything used, but they've taken a heck of a hit off of that. I mean, they use it for 2 years for a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a few things in this plan to keep in mind. One, we're working off a 12,500 miles per year average.
Which
that-
we kind of, we don't have enough data, I guess, really, to put that together.
So
That's
as we
just
go,
an
we'll
educated
continue to
guess.
adjust that,
Yeah.
yeah. It could be, and I know, Mike, you said something I think was really great to keep in mind with this. Mike tries to rotate the buses so that if something did the long route last year and it's starting to get up there in miles, he may rotate it to a
I
shorter
try to keep
route.
the newest equipment in the most service, if you got a 100-mile route a day, you obviously want your best equipment on that. Whereas, we have one route that's just in the afternoon, it's 10 miles a day, so.
Right. So we may have a point where we could say, hey, we need to replace an activity bus instead of route bus a year because we managed to cycle things enough and that would give us the.
Yeah, and I think that time to make that decision is just at that time,
What, have we looked at, and maybe it doesn't make sense for our size district, but leasing our,
Me and Lisa discussed that, we couldn't come to, well, she couldn't, I guess, figure out how it would be financially, I mean, make sense, I guess.
You're taking $100,000 hit on 2 years.
Yeah,
well, but we're getting those, I guess, looking at it from, we're getting those buses. You know, I guess I didn't know, looking at it
Well,
financially, does it
they,
make
what
more
they're
sense
doing
for
is
our
a
district?
true, what they're doing is a true lease. They're basically renting buses.
Right.
They're getting 5 buses every couple of years, and they're using them, and they're turning them back over.
So if it's a 5-year lease, and the life cycle that we're keeping a bus is 10 years, you pay for that bus twice on that lease.
Well, but I didn't know if there were different plans that you could look into, whether purchasing or leasing makes the most sense for us.
Well,
To be honest, the answer is we haven't done a ton, I think.
Yeah, we just talked that one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because generally, since it had been the will of the board in the past to purchase, we just move forward with the plan of continuing that. And
Talking to my,
investigate it.
sorry, Mark, but
Yeah,
talking to my bus salesman, the majority of districts
Purchase, okay.
Otherwise, you're buying a new bus every 5 years instead of every 10 years. Because by the time you lease, you're gonna pay all your financing charges of that, because you got cost of money to lease.
The cost of that equipment is just absolutely stupid. And that 2023 Peterbilt was about 210,000. The 2024 Peterbilt was 290,000.
Yeah, I mean, these things have went up, like I said.
Stupid.
I hope it slows down, we're not gonna be able to buy anything. Can't keep going up 20,000 every year.
This plan might not work.
Yeah.
It goes like that.
But you got new high-end pickups that are getting $80,000, $100,000.
Yeah.
So for, a bus that's got a lot more, maybe not
Well,
all the
that-
fancy stuff.
and that's the thing,
A lot of
you know.
steel in it.
Buy this bus for 55, you can't hardly buy a good, you can't go hardly buy a Suburban. Now, you can't right now.
You can't.
Yeah. I think it's a good choice.
I think it's a good find.
To speak towards buying Suburbans, there is a second page to that where we have our Suburban, Traverse, car, van fleet. We're a lot less confident about the useful life cycle of those than we are with the buses. So that's pretty preliminary what you're seeing there, to be honest.
Is the Traverse working out?
Yeah, those are working out great. Well, one less person, basically. You can't pull a trailer with them, we have a few trailers, but I mean, usually like a football team, like a booster club member, or something will pull the trailer, or we do have 3 Suburbans they can use also, but they're pretty good on fuel, 25, 26 miles a gallon, about half the price of a Suburban, so I think that was the right choice when those were purchased. I mean, I would like to get some more Suburbans sometimes, but they're still, GM won't discount them, you can't get them, it's just same old, as of right now.
Do you ever see those come off of a lease? But they don't discount those much either.
No, and I don't know if this is leasing though, I don't know, that's probably a whole different realm, because it's automotive, but, yeah.
That's interesting.
In the vehicles, you can get such a discount, you about have to buy them, if they are discounted,
I think your Traverse idea was a great idea.
Yeah, like I said, it's worked out when you can haul 8 people for 30,000 versus 9 people for 60, it's hard to.
We can take 2 of them.
Yeah.
But a lot more pleasant drive too.
Any other questions for Mike on his plan and the bus purchase? So I guess we make a motion, it's like, we're approving the long-range plan and the purchase of this used bus.
Motion to approve the plan and bus purchase.
We have a motion and a second to approve long-range transportation plan and bus purchase. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Work session and dates.
Can we, Mike, you want to give us your view of discipline on the bus?
Like how things are going?
Yeah, right, compared to last year.
very good right now, but I mean, it's really, you know, your kids are still,
Exactly what I thought.
yeah, knock on wood. I haven't talked to Terry for like a week and a half, so that's, usually it's every day.
Let's just say, if you think it's loud in the cafeteria at middle school, come right on the bus.
It's better than at the end of last year for sure, right now.
Oh, we didn't have to drive north down there, if you did, I'm sorry.
Work? No, I didn't have to do that.
Even though we have a lot of parent support, that makes it really beneficial, doesn't it? When we call parents and explain, this is a safety measure, it's not discipline. We
Yeah,
just got everybody sitting down, we gotta be careful.
I haven't had any fight back.
No, we've got a lot of support.
Police bus got seat belts? No. 1 year too late.
One or two, like.
Okay. All right, approved work session dates. Do you have that list? You have the phone with it.
Okay, so we discussed in the planning session the following potential dates for the work session. So the second meeting of the month to do October at CHS, January at Howard, February at Lakeview, and March at preschool. Those are the-
So it gives everybody a little bit of heads up, except for Brad. You only get a month head up.
It's not a busy month or anything, is it? It is the second meeting though, so not like right after homecoming.
When did you say Howard was, sorry?
So it's October CHS, January Howard, February Lakeview, March preschool, and I can email that to this whole group here, Howard as well.
Motion second approved work session dates and locations in the building. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? All right, personnel resignations and employment contracts. Couple in the packet.
Do, we have a replacement for the girls basketball?
We have a number of people who have expressed interest and will be posted tomorrow morning. We're gonna wait to post until after approval tonight. At this point, we're under the understanding that we have 15 girls out for basketball. We had 2 assistant coaches and a head coach. Our plan would be to replace the head coach for now, and then if numbers grow, to add back the second assistant. But 3 coaches for 15 kids didn't make a lot of sense.
15 varsity, junior varsity?
15 total was my understanding,
For-
yeah. Now, hopefully, my hope is that number increases vastly before we start basketball practices, and that we need to bring it to an assistant coach hire as well. Fingers crossed. If you're at home watching and are a high school kid that could play basketball, I highly recommend it.
I bet they have a lot of high school kids watching right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're probably not that excited.
Especially the ball.
Yeah.
Also, if you're watching from home, we're looking for officials too, so.
Big time.
All right.
Motion to approve personnel changes as presented.
Motion second to approve personal changes. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed. Motion is approved. All right, principal reports in the packet. But always good to hear from our principal.
Looks like preschool is first in the packet, so why don't you take it on?
Well, first of all, I have to apologize because I misspelled positive, so there's that. And then also, since I have a critiquer here now, after you look at these things for so long, that's like not even on your radar. But I also want to say that the 64-year-olds includes Kids World, so our numbers aren't necessarily up. But when I looked at Power School, I was like so excited I didn't even think about that it doesn't separate them out. So we have 64-year-olds in our district, which is a positive thing, but not as positive as what I was hoping it to be. So just wanted to make sure you knew that. The exciting thing is we have 2 more 3-year-olds coming into our classroom starting next month due to early access transitions. So it's always a good thing to get little people in. My board report's a little all over the place because I have lots of jobs now, and so I apologize for that. I'm just trying to fit it in where I think it's appropriate. So, Homeschool Assist is something that is very new and something that we're working hard to try to build. And continue to work with families to provide more opportunities. One thing I'm excited about, we have a couple families that are interested in participating in the screeners that we complete at every level, and also they would like to do some ISAPS testing, so I think that's a positive, so that they can make sure their kids are where they need to be. So that's going well. Virtual is going well, so lots of hats, lots of things exciting and happening, and I substituted and taught in the 3-year-old program last week, and that was probably the best day I've had in a while. So it's good to be with kids, and that classroom is kind of a scary thinking of 18 3-year-olds, but it was a lot of fun. So ever want to come?
It is scary.
It is scary, but I don't know that I was as scared as Mr. Moore was. But any questions about my report?
You gotta be afraid to step on them. I like
Scared in general.
No question. You got a lot to do, but I know it's a great experience for what you're trying to do professionally,
Yeah.
so thanks for doing all
It
that.
was great with it too.
Thanks.
Carrie?
Mark is probably tired of me telling him how much I appreciate the work that Tyler Bays is doing in our building. I shared some numbers with you so you could see the responses there that, when we reconfigured with Julie going to the admin office and putting on her multiple hats, our support system there was that Mr. Bays would be our first response in support for students who needed additional support in the classroom. And we work really well together, but I have said to Mark, I called him a couple times just out of the blue and said, well, let me tell you what happened in my building today. I sat through a whole morning of grade level meetings and did not get interrupted. I sat through 3 IEP meetings and did not get called out. I made 6 phone calls to parents today and didn't once have to apologize for what was going on. I mean, it's really been a great transition. And I just said to him, like, I was really touched when one of the teachers said, I don't even know the last time we got to have a whole meeting with you for 30 minutes. And I'm like, it's good. So, but our kids are doing a great job. Discipline is, we've got our own issues, but I'll tell you what, a lot of our kids are transitioning back in. The last few days have been really good, and we've done a lot of screening. We're working really well as a K-5. One of the coolest support stories I have to tell you is about a little person who moved here in 3rd grade and had not been in school previously and read about 4 to 7 words. And that person, when I tested them on Friday, read above grade level in 5th grade. And I said to him, I'm giving you a ticket. You need to go down the hall and talk to this teacher, this teacher, this teacher, and this teacher. And he came back down, he's like, gosh, they were all hugging me, giving me 5s, and I got all these tickets. And so it was just a real commitment that the work we're doing to support literacy, that it's quality education, and that, there was a little guy who was a non-reader in 3rd grade, and in 5th grade in the fall, that student is now above grade level. So lots of kudos to the good work our teachers do, because that's where the work's happening. We're just lucky to be a good support crew to them.
Questions for Terry?
Tell me what happens in a morning meeting.
I will tell you what, it's one of the most profound things that Julie Craccio and I brought to the elementary, I would say, wouldn't you, Julie?
Absolutely.
So when we were all home in 2020, and we were connecting with teachers and kids online, one of the gals from the AEA was telling us about morning meetings, where there's multiple aspects of it, and it develops a family, team, classroom concept. So the kids come in the morning, put their things away, and it's one teacher does a lot of physical stuff. One teacher, it's a question like, what's the best gift you ever got? And so, a lot of kids want to raise their hands, and the teacher's like, no, I want you to think about that. What is the best gift you got? And then articulate why that is, so the kids are doing some thinking there. What gift would you give someone in the world? And why would you do that? So, we're starting to think and understand and connect with one another. There's some physical movement in it. And then it's the prediction for what comes. So today, this is what we're gonna do. You can expect this. We have a special here today. This is what we're gonna be doing here. And it's just a lot that it helps calm those nervous systems. It helps reduce anxiety. It helps build connectivity. So it really, I could not say enough about our teachers. They all do a great job at, like, the littles all the way up to the bigs.
And we also do it at preschool. It looks a little different at preschool, but so it's a pre-K-5 initiative, and it's been a really great thing. And it just allows kids to have some time to get their brain into the school function instead of whatever their life was before that.
You can see them when you're standing in the door waiting for them to come in. You can read that face that's like, I got a lot going on. That face says, I'm tired, or the one that says, I'm late, I missed breakfast, and the teacher's like, go down and get something, bring it back. I can see that you need to have a good start for the day. So pretty heavy on social emotional support, but it's very much about developing as a unit.
It's an excellent plan.
Yeah.
I did much the same thing when I taught, and saved my butt. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. I also appreciated your, I think it was your family and community part where what you did.
Oh, with the donuts, Mr. Ray's.
But, no, I like the whole section.
Oh, okay.
It gave me a better sense of what you were up against and how you solved it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so on your donuts for drivers, that was a last minute deal. I just decided to take the kids. So they see Miss Schofield out there, and I have Evan and Ryan with me, and I'm like, Dad, what's going on? She's got donuts. I'm like, yeah, looks like I get a donut, 'cause I got you to school all the time. Well, Dad, but we're here on time. We got ready on time. I'll get you donuts in the morning. So no, that was something completely unexpected. I appreciate it. I'm sure
Well,
that
I
the
feel
other
like
drivers
people,
that
you
were
probably
pretty cool.
you probably saw a little bit of the response. We were just trying to really make people more aware of the attendance issue, and I know people kind of felt like I was wrenching at them about it, and I don't want to be that person either. But I said to Tyler, it's great. We used to have 20 to 28 kids walking in before 9 o'clock. And so they've missed morning meeting, and they probably missed reading or math, which is really the core of our work. And so, but our families have been absolutely amazing. And I said to Tyler, if you don't think this is too soft, let's hand out donuts tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, next time we gotta get some coffee, because everybody who came through my line wanted to know where the coffee was.
So this is for parents driving, I thought it was for bus drivers, I missed that.
We just thank parents for the commitment they take to get to kids. You know, it's not always lovely to go down there, and some people get out of their cars and take too long, and that annoys people, and all that kind of stuff, so,
It did
you
this
know,
morning.
yeah, so,
Yep.
so we just wanted to say thanks.
No, I haven't.
My kids don't tuck and roll during that drop time, man.
I'm coming through whether I got kids or not.
Find some to drop off.
Our families have worked really hard, and I think we've all talked about that, just raising the awareness. We have really seen a good effort towards attendance and recognizing, we're all trying to help kids, we're not trying to harangue parents.
I got it.
We're good.
So similar to what they're talking about morning meetings, we have advisory first thing in the morning, which we've added some extra teachers to that. Each one of our special ed teachers does an advisory period too. It makes those classes smaller to start out in the morning. The largest one I think's got 15 kids. So the purpose of that is to those teachers to connect with that group of kids throughout the year to kind of be their support at the middle school level. And so they check in, they do the announcements, they say the pledge, and that's when we do our social emotional learning lessons that week. And then on a Friday, they do a check before they leave to make sure they know what their homework and are aware of the week at a glance and stuff like that. But it's going really good this year with the smaller groups and those teachers kind of like taking care of those kids, especially with the implementation of the lockers and stuff. That helped that go a lot smoother because they had less kids to help get that figured out. So it's went really well, and that's what we do the beginning of each day at Power. So I put in some of our statistics from the ISAP and the newsletter. Amber Reed, who's our school improvement consultant with the AEA, put together a spreadsheet for us with the grade levels, and this is just my data that I pulled out of that spreadsheet. She helped us comparing what our data at our middle school is with the state for English, math, and science, so I put that in there. It's going really good. We're off to a good start, so any questions?
How is your backpack and cell phone policy going? I saw the comment in there, but is it really going okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only had one parent call me with a concern, and they came in and we visited about it and
Okay.
took care of what the issue was and seemed to be okay, so.
Good.
We don't have water, I don't know, night subs, we don't have water bottles all over, anything like that. Most of the kids are respectful with them, and if we ask them to put it away, or, I mean, we've taken a few of the, the crunching and the squirting away, but for the most part, it's going good. It's like somebody said, no cell phones has been wonderful. The drama is so much less now with no phones, so.
And if we kind of get through this first year of that policy, then every year should just get a little bit better.
Well, we've always had that policy of no phones, but they have them in their backpacks with them.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
And, they're telling me there's a few that are packing them in their pockets, but they're not making it a deal. So the ones that we see and the ones that get them out or ring when they're in class, we address that. We take it, they can pick it up at the office at the end of the day, and that's only happened twice, I think. So most of them get it.
Good. Brad?
We have an advisory period much like that. We do ours in the middle of the day. Just because of the high school schedule, it just seems to work in better. When we started looking at adopting, some people do it in the morning, some people do it at the end of the day in the middle. There's good and bad with each. We ended on the middle. It works pretty well around our lunch. So we have 26-minute period opposite of lunch that either the kids go to advisory when they don't go to lunch. And we use a lot of that time. We do some social emotional one day a week. We do a lot of ours is extra time to get help, because that was one thing at the high school level. It's hard to get. If I'm having trouble with English, it's hard to get in front of an English teacher. This advisory period gives us a chance to do that. We use a flexi-sched, we call it, that helps keep everybody, lets them know where they're supposed to go. Teachers can request students they really need to work with. So that's still working out well. We, for the first time, we've done the Fast Bridge Screener. So now we do it K-12.
Yep.
So we did a different thing last year. Julie and I worked last spring. We kind of had some conversations about it. So we decided to move on with what, kind of in line with what everybody else is doing. So hopefully in a few years that data will, we can watch it. The other things, we do have 410 kids enrolled in career technical education classes, which I think is a very good number to have. About 94 kids more than we had last year.
Wow.
One of the things that we did offer, we have sewing and child development now, which has 103 kids in those classes that we didn't have last year. So those are, sewing classes are really popular. Child development, all those are going really well. 45 kids enrolled in the various academies. We've got the construction, the health sciences here. We have some kids go to do, maybe, they do auto mechanic and diesel mechanic. I think they both go to Albia. We do have some go to welding in Ottumwa. I talked to Mr. Whistler the other day. We're talking about possibly looking at getting our welding certified, so we could keep those kids from driving to Ottumwa. We can get them certified at CHS. That's just, we have to kind of decide how we can do it. We don't want to sacrifice any of our other, Mark's pretty full in these other classes too, so we don't want to sacrifice anything, but if we can make it work, we're definitely going to look at trying to get the welding here in Centerville for him.
Excuse me, is the welding part of the new Indian Hills program here in Centerville?
The kid, we have 3 kids this year that are going to Atumwa. If long range, it may be.
Long range, I thought they were talking about bringing.
I think it
I
is
think
too.
it does with the new campus.
Yeah, that and the machine doctor program,
Yeah.
whatever it's actually called.
So that problem might solve itself here. in the next year or
Yeah,
so.
but, you know, I think if we could still get them, if we could educate them at CHS under Mark, I think, and get Indian Hills credit, I think we should still maybe look at doing that.
Sure, sure.
We do have one foreign exchange student that we talked about. She's from Spain, she's involved in cross country. Really seems to like it here. And it's just good, I think it's good for the other kids in the school. I mean, you know, you always think about the experience she has. I think it's good for our kids to be exposed to her and what she brings and how things are different than where she grew up, so. And then Gear Up, I talk about Gear Up sometimes, quite a bit. It's a grant we have, basically gaining early access for kids to go to college career. Today, I got a thing, I don't think it's public yet, but I'm gonna say, the next one got approved. So 7th grade will actually it'll go down to 7th grade, starting, so there'll be some funds for middle school to continue to do some stuff that, we do.
Any questions for Brad?
I think that's all I got.
I would just like to throw in, you know, one of our work sessions, maybe this winter, to bring that young lady from Spain, as a student rep, just so we can kind of hear a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought about that, but I didn't want to intimidate her.
Shave the mustache and you won't hear it.
I don't think you'll intimidate him.
Yeah.
Is there, you know,
Yeah.
foreign, international students, bring so much to a school. And is there any way we can recruit more?
You know, we get requests, I've been working with a lady out of Albion, she's the kind of the lady around here that does it. And
Yeah.
she's always got 3 or 4 requests and they always don't all work out. I think we had 3 planned this year and the other 2 didn't work out. I don't know, it was on their
I think
end.
housing becomes an issue.
I think finding a host family.
Exactly right.
Host families.
Finding a home, so if you take one in for a year, Mike,
That is a distinct possibility. I mean, I'm not,
I think they have to have their own bedroom. Well, I'm going by the Rotary thing more than this other program I got.
but, you know, even if we as a school board try to recruit host families, that might be our end.
Right.
To look, you know, it seems like it's such a plus and an experience that I've had. International students bring real flavor to the school.
And it's a lifelong thing. I wrote to Des Moines with Tom Johnson. I think they had 4 or 5 kids over the years, and they keep track of almost all but one of the older ones that we lost track of. But it's not just a one-year kind of thing. They go visit there, and sometimes those people come back here. When's the last time Rotary sponsored a?
Before my time.
Really?
And I think it was kind of the same thing, but still trying to find, because with the Rotary side, and be Rotarian, and trying to find that host family is, we just never could get anybody, so that's another program that is there, should we get opportunity.
All right, any other questions for Brad? Buildings and ground. I see you've had to up your game since Mike upped his.
Yeah.
Or did he up his game because you had your game first?
I got my game up with a lot of help.
Well, I like the format.
It don't matter where you get it.
Well, to start off, I guess I'll start with a quick construction update. Just a few points. The windows in the offices in the office area have not been installed yet. They were planned to be installed already, but there's a little bit of delay with the installation company, which I think they're just a workforce.
Are they bringing them the windows, or do we have the windows? Are they bringing them to install them?
They're bringing them. I don't think we don't have them on site. Drywall has been started in the guidance office areas, basically complete, just not metal taped. We will continue up into the admin offices. Duct work is continuing throughout the project. That'll be going on almost for the life of the project. That takes a while. Roof in all areas are now complete, minus the metal trim work along the outsides. The walk-in cooler and freezer was installed today, should finish up tomorrow, minus refrigeration, of course. That's some real heavy enforced stuff. I watched them put the doors on the units. It took 4 guys to hold the door. That's how heavy that stuff is. Bi-State will be cutting the holes into the wrestling room for the windows this week from that hallway next to the locker room area. The grease interceptor for the kitchen is in place and piped. The dock concrete walls have been poured. The dock ramp and stoop in the wrestling room is planned to be poured within the next month. Sidewalk by the greenhouse is being prepped and should be poured later this week. Block walls are being built for the showers in the locker rooms. And we have a little bit of a concerning thing. I don't know. I don't have a lot of information on it as of now, but they're going through with discussions with Alliant right now about placement of the gas meters. We don't have a resolution on that yet, but all sides are arguing and figuring it out. When it comes to something like this, it's not just the architect, but it's the engineering company and Alliant and utilities.
And to give a little background on that though, my understanding, and tell me if I'm incorrect, the person for Alliant who was there at the beginning of the project and approved putting a hookup or a meter on the far end of the building is no longer with Alliant, and the new person is saying no to it, that they don't approve it, and that we'll need to bore underneath the high school.
They're saying, this new person saying it's not code, since it would be, can't give 2 gas meter services to one building. But the architects and engineering are arguing that technically this is 2 different buildings, because think where the existing building was, there was block and brick. And then we added another layer of block on the other side of that for our new portion, so that is considered a firewall. So that would split it into 2 separate entities, which would give us 2 different gas.
Is it state code or Alliant?
Yeah, I think it was Alliance.
I think it's Alliance.
Alliant policy, because he had an Alliant one.
Because he came back saying that if it was determined to be code, then
International building.
he would take it to Alliant. So it sounds like the problem is not the building code, it's
more the Alliant code.
policy.
So the first guy,
Alliant interpretation of the international building.
the first guy interpreted it one way, and the second person after that guy left is interpreting it a different way.
But it looks like what he was saying at that meeting this last Wednesday, is that according to the prints they have, they're showing that wall of separation of the new project and the existing is not a firewall. And what he had mentioned is if they go through the process and they can prove that it is a firewall with new documents, we should be allowed to put the 2 meters that we originally provided.
Otherwise, it may be a fairly pricey change order.
Well-
That's what Rochelle shared.
That would be Rochelle's interpretation.
Yeah, well, I mean, to bore underneath, it would be fairly.
Well, the alternate that I spoke with the owner of Bi-State
Okay.
was that we install 1 gas meter at the south side of the building. And if they won't allow it, then we just run a gas line through the building, like every head ceiling. You just run a new gas line around and tie it in. Not a real big deal as far as they were concerned. I don't know that they will allow you to bore under the building.
Not a safety.
Safety thing, get a gas leak under the building, it's not gonna
Yeah.
touch. But I don't know all of the details there. But I do know that the owner of Bi-State and the job site superintendent both agreed that it's just 1 pipe. They're gonna set a meter that's big enough to do everything. So, not a big deal.
Okay, that's good.
the solution is there, it's not real complicated, if that's what it comes down to.
Hopefully they can keep true to what they told us at the beginning of the project when they approved it in the first place though. Especially because we've worked with them recently on their projects.
Right. And you have to understand that the Alliant is being very careful and they follow the code. And it will keep us out of trouble.
Yeah.
So.
And then moving along, in your board packet, we updated and revised our long-range maintenance plan. You can see in the year 23-24 that most of our projects are completed. Howard Road is completed. We plan to do a punch list with, I plan to do a punch list with Michelle, I think Friday this week. Also in that, it's not something I think that's been mentioned in the board meeting yet, but you see a line item mentioned insurance roof replacements. This last hailstorm we had earlier this year, I had all the, with our insurance company, I had their roofs inspected. And they approved quite a few replacements. I'll kind of go through the list. At the fleet maintenance facility, we're getting a complete new shingle roof replacement. This admin building will be getting new shingle roof, air wrap siding, and gutters. The high school will be getting a new aluminum roof coating over the tech wing. We'll rip off the old one, put a new aluminum coating on it. And then there's the big one, which is Howard. Howard will be getting a new roof. I'll just say it like that.
It's everything outside
except
of
for
what
what
we
we just did this summer. Everything.
Under insurance.
Under insurance.
Wes, are you smiling with that one?
Which that did take one thing off my long range plan, which saved some money.
Yeah.
That one we'll be working with FRK to be a very large project. The rest of them, with the admin, fleet maintenance facility, and the high school, I'm working on getting estimates for those right now.
We don't have any metal roofs, do we?
Just outbuildings, like back of Lakeview, that new building, and then behind the fleet maintenance facility, or just sheds, garages.
Yeah.
Library? No.
Technically, yeah, technically.
Right now, in the insurance industry, the disclaimer is if you have a metal roof, it will not be covered unless it's leaks.
I talked about that.
Well, we have cosmetic coverage,
Yeah.
I was told by my insurance guy.
Yeah. Which everything that they had given, none of it was metal, all of it was EPDM flat roof, which that's what we'll replace with. And it's a good roof, and I'm excited about it. Be a lot of new roofs in the district.
A lot of new ones and a lot of, thank you for the insurance coverage. Okay. I like the format. And I'm assuming that over time you're gonna add things in the future years out there.
Yes, yes. Well, I did add an additional year, I think it was 28, 29.
Yep.
That wasn't on last year's. And this is a weekly, I update this weekly.
Right.
This is a shared document between myself, Mark, and Lisa.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly editing and changing this,
Yeah.
depending on priorities.
Because one of the things we went through the bonding process on the save money is we cut the facilities annual budget from 600,000 to 400,000. So just looking at the 2022, 23 and the 23, 24, it averages out there, so we're okay with that. But then there's a lot less money being spent. So my question is, are you gonna add some more things into that? Or you think this is where we're gonna be at least for 24, 25?
225,000 is what I want to keep it to for plan. I need the 175 to last year's school year, just for fixes.
Okay.
Like, at least once a year, we have a HVAC compressor at Lake go down that costs around 10 grand to replace. And then 5 or 6 of those, getting scared, there's one about running out of money.
All right. As long as you got a plan, I'm good.
I see you have electronic locks there, 3 or 4 different lines there. Is that right?
On which page?
Security grant. I don't have a page number on it, I guess. Looks like that.
Mark, what was this? That's attempting to replace, to add some additional, card access. Because our goal is to get as much keyless and card use from as many people as possible. So that those of us who would be carrying keys would be smaller in number. So that it's mostly by card, then you can track who's coming in too.
Great, the point I was wanting to bring up is, I subscribe to lots of different trade journals, and the latest thing is no cards. Your smartphone is the way to go, because you're not gonna leave that phone at home, you're not gonna loan it out. If you lose it, you're gonna be in a panic. So smartphones make the better choice for your access to that electronic lock.
We might have to see if that could work in with the systems that we have in the high school project and everything.
Yeah.
So right now, our goal, and this is, Cameron, you're probably gonna have to correct me if I say this in the wrong way, okay? Because I know the two of you have done some work together with some of this, but eventually, going to as many of these keyless entries as we can, there will be able to be a centralized server essentially.
We're already working on that now.
That you'll be able to, like, we could in one location, give this person access these hours to Lakeview, these hours to the high school, and we can kind of have control over who has access to our buildings when.
Sure, and that's exactly where that system works.
Right, yeah, and I imagine there's probably something through like Bluetooth or something to do an RFID that it can read. I just don't know how that works.
That kind of started with the preschool project over this last summer. The card entry that we put in there was with the new server, we went and got the server for Cameron that we could attach in the future with all these electronic locks at the school to this one server.
Yes, that's perfect. That's exactly the way it should be.
That's kind of cool, though, smart, so you can use your smartphone.
It's great when you go to a hotel, because like you said, I always leave a hotel key on the damn thing, have to get another one.
Yeah, yeah. And your smartphones have all the security built into it that you're gonna need.
Huh. You can use your phone as an RFID tag. So my guess is I'll experiment with that, because we may be able to use that with our current system. If it just kicks out an RFID, you can probably read it just the same and put it in the database.
Yeah, it has a sender and receiver on it, so I've had to use my card
that's
to
cool.
work with our new system.
Cameron, I'm ready to be your guinea pig on that one.
Once again,
Good call, Mike.
Once again, they're ahead of me already.
I like the story. This is good. Thank
So,
you.
The best guy saves some cost too, because you don't have to have calls.
And some of the other security grant items that we're working on is like, working on this camera, is the camera system we're working on right now. I'm not sure if he gave you a time frame on a lot of that, but we're starting to use some of that money for, the very first thing would be the camera systems going in. I'm not sure if there's certain schools he was starting with or how that had started yet.
We're gonna be doing a walkthrough in the next couple of weeks just to get the exact locations down, and then same winter, broad category winter, so.
Okay. And then the next step in the which I talked with Mark last week on this, in the safety grant, was the rekeying of the schools. Working on that with Chris, and we're just basically going to a whole new setup. There are way too many extra keys out there that we don't get back from employees that leave or whatever. And just going to a new key system, it'll be logged to whoever has a key. I'll keep track of everything like that, and just security.
All right, I'm really happy that we have long-range plans for both transportation facilities. I know we talked about that, so good job for doing that. And I just know it's gonna get, from what you did last year, this is an improvement. I know it's just gonna keep getting better and better. And with that, the facilities and the long-term maintenance program. So appreciate the both of you guys for doing that, so.
We got the right people now.
Yep. Mike, you got another report for us?
Yeah, I mean, the most of what I want to talk to you guys about was the long-range plan, but I just want to say that the beginning of the year went really good this year. I think having in-person registration, I really, going into it, I didn't think it was gonna help, but I think it did. we had a lot less chaos the first week of school than we normally do. Even the secretary said, I don't think busing's ever went that good the first week of school. I felt the same way. We didn't have any kids lost. I mean, we didn't have any parents mad and screaming, saying we lost our kids. I feel like that's something that we need to do from here on out. I think it helped. I don't know if, as far as everybody else's feelings on that, but as far as it helping my department, it helped. Bob asked about behavior. It comes and goes, Bob, honestly. I feel like right now we're at a really good place. Like I said, I haven't talked with Terry in a week and a half. You missed me?
I know.
Okay.
Rhonda and I kind of play tag. I'm like, have you heard from Mike? Yes. Not me.
And I think that we've gotten through these kids that you're gonna follow a bus rules or you're not gonna be on the bus very long. I mean, that's the way it should be. We're about 30, looks like 32 events through our 46 events of a fall transportation for activities. So it's hard to believe that we've only been in school for a month, but we've gotten through that much stuff already. Been almost able to cover everything. I mean, there's days that are a challenge. We've had to take some subversives for some stuff that we maybe could have took a bus for, but like I said, some of that stuff's just out of my control. But overall, really good start to the year, and we can continue.
Good. Questions for Mike?
You know, I know we're going to every school in a work session, but should we not go to the bus barn? Just to see just to show us how it works.
Hey, what if we added that onto the preschool one?
Yeah.
Walk over to the bus barn.
Aaron's the buildings and grounds, was he's giving.
Ha, that's good.
Awesome. I'll put you in the middle, we can spin around in a circle. That'll be the two of them. Unless
It's not a long walk.
Okay. Yeah. That might be interesting to see once, yeah.
It's interesting to see how it's put together. For me.
So there's no superintendent report on the agenda,
Yeah.
and we didn't approve you to speak.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, me too. To help you.
You know, we approved this agenda. It was-
Nuts. Oh, man, what a bummer.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I thank you, everybody, for your hard work on getting together good reports for us today.
I just noticed that.
That's pretty fun. That's fine. That's not fun.
Who puts this together?
Whoops.
All right. Board member takeaways. Let's see. Bob, you can go first, because you only got a couple more meetings.
It's true. I think I'm a lame duck.
We weren't gonna say it, but we haven't noticed we walked
I'm gonna comment on Brad, talk about that welding program when, Matt, sometime I read that these kids in Van Buren did a welding program in their high school and then graduated with their AE. And so I talked to Matt and said, we got the same program here, why can't we do that? And then he explained that we didn't fit in some jurisdiction or something, so work on that, because it just seems ridiculous that Van Buren kids could walk away with their 2-year degree, and our kids don't have that same opportunity, so. Julie, when Diane was here, fat kid at the time, I don't know what her name is now, she was all excited about taking kids to the Civic Center to watch a play. And I remember Tim never liked getting the buses arranged for that. But I just saw something on my phone that, you know, kids can go up there for $1. Is that something we should think about, or is it too hard to do?
No, it's a great opportunity, and we've done it a couple different times. The only problem is the shows are usually at 10 or noon. And to really fit into the transportation of needing our drivers in the morning or in the afternoon, it's just really pushing it to get back. And so that's kind of why we've stopped going to that. Because you can't hardly get there till at 10, because if we wait and leave at 8 or 8:15 even to get to the Civic Center, get there, you're 10 or 15 minutes late for the show is what we found a lot of times. And then if you go to the noon show, you're really pushing it to get back for the 3 o'clock. Because if it's an hour, hour and a half show, getting out of downtown Des Moines just really pushes drivers to get back. So That's kind of why we stopped. Just because it wasn't like a great experience for kids because they were late or leaving early but yes, we've done that.
Okay.
All right, Chris?
I'm second.
Yeah, because you're second lane back.
Quack, quack. I've always echoed to Mark about the getting us in compliance. That's a big deal to me. And I really appreciate it. As boring as it is, you know, we have to do it, so I appreciate it.
Tim?
Oh, this is kind of a general observation, but with all the reports that we heard tonight, I get a real sense that there is some collaboration and some problem solving, and it's just nice to see everybody working together, and I think it's all stems down from leadership, so.
Mike?
Yeah, at this time, I've got a real strong sense about what's going on in not only all the schools, but in both departments. I just feel like I got a better idea, feel more comfortable about what's going on. And I thought our student rep did a fine job, he's a fun guy. I can't wait to see the next one. But it left me with a comfortable feeling, I guess you'd say.
Other Mike?
Yeah.
So I just said Mike, he spoke up first.
Sure. Okay. It was great to have everybody back in the room. Seems like it's been a while. Everybody's been back there, so thanks for being here. I'm excited to go to our district events. So I think that's an important step as a board member moving forward.
Eric?
Unlike some of us, I enjoyed the policy review. That is the one thing that a lot of people in the world don't understand, that is truly this board's job, is to maintain and oversee the board policy and not necessarily true day-to-day activities of the district. So, so much of this stuff, it's, you know, even when I got appointed, I was going through and, you know, seeing things that hadn't been touched since, 1990, 2000, which doesn't seem like that happened, but it was. So that's.
Well, they've been reviewed since then.
Reviewed, well, some of those didn't, so they didn't have revisions on them.
They just haven't been revised, but they've been reviewed.
Maybe they were reviewed, they just weren't noted. But-
Yeah, there's a technical difference in how that.
Okay. But anyway,
I just don't want the world to think we haven't updated policies in 30 years.
I just enjoyed that I was in second grade for the last revision review.
But no, it's important things, and, you know, some of the controversial ones that are there, you know, again, so much of what this board does is dictated through Iowa law that most people don't know, and it's an eye opener, but we gotta get updated, and yeah, it was my, 195 pages of weekend reading, so. Let's break out what's the next big one, Mark?
Oh, well, 500 probably.
You have to print those out for us.
500 is gonna be big.
But no, and again, I tell everybody else in the room, just the collaboration between all the departments, the work, buildings and grounds, transportation's putting into the plan for that next board, whomever may be sitting here. But there's a plan, a vision, and we're not, somebody's not blindsided when they come in. I know that's what four of you ran into. So, yeah.
All right.
Good job, everyone.
My takeaway is going to be a little bit different. Last Friday, I had an opportunity to take some time off of work, and I went down to Howard to see how they prepared lunch in the Howard kitchen from scratch. And I'll be darned if they didn't do it, 2 of them. That was pizza, so it was kind of easy. So they made up all these pizzas, they had them in a rack, and they had them all prepared there so that when the time came, they can just start sliding them in the oven because they got a convection oven they can do it. They said they really could use a proofer. They do not need a range and a hood and all that kind of stuff, so the proofer would be what they needed. And it was Belinda and actually her mom, Linda and Belinda. And they had food for all of Howard done, and they were sitting there at 11 o'clock, just kind of like waiting on kids, because they said it was a little bit easier meal. But Fridays, they do a little something simpler to prep, because they have so much inventory stuff they have to do that really takes up a lot of their time. The sal bars are out, and those kids came in, And sat tables, it was 6th grade. Andy Hotek got him through the line. Andy's a little mild mannered. He needs to get like that command voice to really, or the kids just need to quiet down because it was, but I was amazed at how fast kids got through. Linda served, Belinda did the count, and the two of them handled all of Howard and not had to transport any food. I was really impressed. And it seemed like the kids loved pizza because it was like 3/4 of them got pizza versus pulled pork was the other option that they had. And talking with some kids, they like options. So just like anybody else. So unfortunately, I had to leave from there and go someplace else, so I didn't get to stay and do some other things I want to do in Howard. But later in the afternoon, I went down to Lakeview. And I ended up going, and I think I went to 4 or 5 classrooms. I got to see Mrs. Schofield with a child that was not having a good day that day. And she did tell me all about Mr. Bays and everything that he's doing. I went into Mrs. Otts. She was teaching math, using the overhead projector, just like we saw when we went through. And kids were doing exercises and going around. And so I got to see 4th grade math. And then I went down, and I think I went into 3 kindergarten rooms. And let me tell you, if you want to go sit in a kindergarten room, and if you actually sit in a kindergarten room, in a chair,
All day long.
they were asking who I was. And I was in there and I actually sat on a chair with them. And the next thing I knew on free time, I had 7 or 8 kindergartners all showing me their box of pencils and things with their name on it. So I knew their name and everything about everything. And it was just, I think it was Mrs. Kirkland's class. Is that right? Who's on the end?
Kirkpatrick.
No, the other end.
Bailey, Stickler.
Who's on the very, I went to Mrs. Stickler later.
And
I went to Kirkpatrick late. Who's on the very far end by the music band?
Bailey and
This is Bailey,
Stickler.
okay.
Christy.
I guess that was Mrs. Bailey's. I couldn't remember whose room I was in at the time. But yeah, those kids were, huh?
It was a blur.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I was kind of blurred by kids at that point.
You're worn out at the end of the day.
But anyways.
When your knees are up around your earlobes, you get that.
But I guess my takeaway, my point on that is, you know, we're gonna go visit classrooms again for this year. We started it last year, we're doing it again this year. But there's something about seeing kids and teachers in the building and seeing things actually happen. And I know I spent probably took 4 hours out of my day to do that. I can't, do that a lot, and I know sometimes it's hard for people to do it, but it was kind of eye-opening to see the things that our teachers are doing and talking with. I had a chance to talk with the secretaries about how Frontline's working. And they're all just like, this is be great. Since we get out of the paper system, everybody's looking forward to moving into it. And there's somebody in there who says, yeah, I can do everything on my phone. And so I think the Frontline was a good decision. It seems like that everybody was pretty happy with that. And so just if you could, one day through the school year, just spend some time in some of the buildings and classrooms. I don't know what your teacher said afterwards, me coming in there, but they were, yeah, they're very open to me just coming in and seeing what they were doing and activities and kind of Mrs. Stricker said, well, hey, if you want to help that table over there with their activity, she put me to work. So,
You can walk into a room.
yeah, you won't be put to work if you go to some of those kindergarten rooms, I'll tell you that. But anyways, so I just thanks for the opportunity, Brad. I probably need to figure out how to do that in some high school classes today, but just thanks for being open, letting me come into the buildings and doing some observations. It was kind of a fun thing to do, and it just reminded you as a board member, that's why we're here, for the kids and the education. So that's my takeaway from that. All right, with that, last item is adjourned. Thought you guys wanted to stay. Motion second adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Everybody else, stay here all night.